lecture from the, it's all the same thing, so for today,
Each day
we
you
put the full day.
Cool. All right, non-destructive testing, which is what we'll be spending the rest of our time together with in this class. I will divide up the test into two sections, section 1 and section 2. So it'll be kind of sort of liquid penetrant and qualifications, and then the next test will be magnetic particle with a little bit of the other stuff, which would be X-ray, ultrasound, and current. So, all right, excited here. So, non-destructive testing. Can that work? Yeah, that should work. 1. So that's NDT, which stands for non-destructive testing. Which is to say that we are not going to break the part to test it. So if you break it while testing it, you did it wrong. That's your first indication. Also called non-destructive examination or evaluation. So also called NDE for non-destructive examination or the other E could be evaluation. Evaluation. Or, let's see, also called, aka also known as, a non-destructive inspection, NDI. All right, there are 10 major methods. In each one of these methods, you can become qualified / certified. We'll get into that in a little bit. But these are the 10 basic methods. I have 10. Let's see. Well, it's supposed to be Roman numeral, but I'll just do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right, let's hear it. What do you got? See if we can get all 10.
Dye penetrant.
Dye penetrant, also called PT for liquid penetrant. That is my number 2. PT for liquid penetrant. What else?
Ultrasound.
Ultrasound. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 is my UT. UT for ultrasonic testing.
Magnetic particle.
Magnetic particle, or MT.
Visual?
Are you cheating back there?
No.
Huh?
I read.
Visual.
X-ray.
Hang on, before we get too far into this, so we should define each one. So liquid penetrant testing is one we're going to talk about first, and that is where we use a liquid penetrant that seeps into a discontinuity, a crack, and then it's cleaned and then developed out, and the dye will come back out of the crack, indicating a discontinuity. Magnetic particle is where we turn a part into a magnet, if you will, and put particles that will be attracted to the magnetic flux leakages, indicating a crack. Ultrasonic testing is exactly like when you go to the doctor and you get an ultrasound, see what kind of baby you're having. Had a big dinner, so I'm having a food baby later. We use sound waves, bounces back, and we can look for discontinuities. Visual testing is just what it sounds like. It's actually getting certified and using your eyes to look at something. How you hold the flashlight and what kind of how you do it properly. Okay, what's that?
X-ray testing.
X-ray. All right. Yeah, X-ray. Yeah, everything on there. X-ray is not on here, but I do have RT for radiographic testing, which is the same thing. Radiographic testing. What else you got? Eddy current, or ET. Electromagnetic testing. Well, I can back up. Radiographic testing, or X-ray. Just like when you go to the doctor, you get an X-ray if your whatever's broken. Electromagnetic testing, or eddy current. We're actually using eddy currents, a little AC probe that puts eddies into a part, and we're looking for an impedance curve. Ooh, I scared you on that one. Remember the triangle where we had resistance, we had inductive reactance, and impedance?
Oh, I remember.
Eddy currents and impedance curve. You're like, I don't know, I didn't pass that question. All right, what else we got? Got more left here. Well, I'll give you this one. NRT, which is neutron radiographic testing, which is like RT, but just a little bit different.
Is it more precise or just different? Is that a long answer that you can't just?
While I was studying for the level 3 exam, they went into such great nuance between radiographic and neutron radiographic testing that it just made my brain hurt. And it got down to which isotopes you're using.
Oh wow.
So,
Pretty similar then.
yes. 3 more. What do you got? Come on, miss, I read it.
Ion? I don't know.
I don't know. It's not on there.
Proton radiographic testing.
Yeah.
It's just
TIR. What is that?
Thermo,
yeah.
infrared.
There you
Oh
go.
man, I can't believe I got that.
Neither can we. Oh, of course you got it. All right, AE. I think some of you are going to be suffering from this. Acoustical emission testing.
Whoa. Would you like to find out who?
No.
Is it happens when you eat too many beans, I'm guessing?
That is it, yes, the musical fruit, when you have too many beans.
Oh, I thought.
That is literally taking microphones and placing them around something. Like, I think one of the examples that I remember was like a train car that holds, you know, the gases or whatever. So you can, the round ones. So you'd put microphones all over it, then you would pressurize it and listen for where the, there'll be a crack sound or some sort of emission coming from the straining of the metal, and the microphones will have enough of them on there, it will pinpoint where that sound is coming from.
Oh, you do that like a tank, you say?
Yeah.
That's cool as hell.
And LT, leak testing. It's not what you think. You use leeks, they're like a fruit kind of or something. No, I'm
It's like a
just kidding.
vegetable.
Yeah, it's like a vegetable, yes.
Is that like a smoke test or something?
I think it
Smoke
would
down
be.
or something like that?
Yeah, yeah, you could probably do something like that. I'm not totally familiar. But you're just looking for leaks. You could use dye, see where it leaks from. So some of them are, you know, somewhat primitive, visual testing, you know. Leak testing just using dye. All right. Yes,
Would you use some of these methods in combination with each other? So like you would do, let's
absolutely. Like continental crankshafts, you have to do both magnetic particle and ultrasound.
say, okay.
What if there's something you can do all 10 on?
Specifically Continental, is that because
Yeah, they're
it's something I asked for? Or?
Yeah, something they asked for.
Okay.
Okay, non-destructive testing qualification and certification. NDT qualification, top of testing, qualification,
Non-destructive testing qualifications.
yes. Oh, that's why I did that, because I wrote non-destructive testing, so, sorry. So it's NDT qualification and certification. All right, I have as my point number 1 here, or letter A, something that I guess I say far too often. Just because you can doesn't mean you should. And I say that, and that applies to a lot of things in the industry. You're gonna have well, I'll say license, but you'll have a certification in your pocket eventually that says that you're capable of working on aircraft. And, you know, there's a lot of macho. When you get actually to aviation, one of the things that they teach you about, the dirty things, bad habits, is machoism. And that really applies to us as mechanics because we want to fix things, and we tend to have this macho attitude that, you know, I've got a certification in my pocket. I can do that. Yeah, I took some NDT in school. I know what I'm doing. You can get yourself in a lot of trouble with this one. And it's becoming more and more that way that you can get yourself into trouble. Back when I was doing it, it was a little bit more of the Wild West. You know, the information was out there. The manufacturers, engine manufacturers, would just say, well, you know, you need to do the NDT and do it like this. And they've really changed it to where you have to have proper certifications, qualifications, and equipment. And we'll get more into that. They don't want you just doing this stuff anymore because too many people are just doing it. And I have far too many stories of people doing NDT, thinking they knew what they were doing, who absolutely had no idea what they were doing, and said, nope, it's not cracked. I guarantee it. I'm like, I guarantee it is. It's just so obvious. I can see it. And you can't even develop out a crack. So, yeah.
You said that they took out in the service bulletin how many amps you would use for.
They took the whole thing out. They
Yeah.
changed it. So don't.
That because
Unless
of
you're
that
level 2.
reasoning.
Yeah, because people were just doing it without really knowing what they were doing. All right. So, NDT instructions are pretty harsh, and they get into some real crazy nuances. And, you know, if you're not really good at reading instructions and picking out every single little nuance of what they are saying, that's where you're going to get in a lot of trouble. So make sure you're good at reading directions when you do this. Make sure you have the right equipment. Right equipment, instructions, and training on the part being tested. So rule number 1, please don't just go out and do this. Which I think at the end of this 2 weeks you'll be like, yeah, I'm not, because you'll know better. All right, there is qualified. We're going to some very specific words here. Word number 1 is qualified. And by the way, most of this stuff that we're talking about now is shifting away from the FAA. And now we're talking more about ASNT, American Society for, what does it stand for? I think I don't know. American Society for Nondestructive Testing. Yeah, that's right. So this is where this comes from. ASNT is not a government organization. It is a trade organization that sets the standards. And these standards are recognized the world wide over. And they are mentioned in technical publications that we deal with. So in other words, if I want to do non-destructive testing on an aircraft engine part, and I go to the instructions, it will now say, do it in accordance with ASNT specifications. And so when you follow those specifications, then you're going to start then you get back into all of this. So, qualified. Qualified. When you graduate from the program, notice I use the term when, because I now know everybody in here, and so I can safely say when, not if. I can safely say when.
Couldn't tell if that was me or Cooper.
Yes.
Or both.
Yeah, it was definitely you.
Couldn't tell either. All right, so, all right. Are you going to, so you graduate the program, are you going to be qualified to take the FAA exams or certified to take the FAA exams?
Qualified.
You shall be qualified to take the FAA exams. Does that mean then you are qualified to work on an aircraft or certified to work on an aircraft?
Certified.
If you have.
You haven't taken the test yet.
Qualified.
Neither?
We don't really say that in this industry, but I want you to see the difference. You are qualified, but you have not yet been
Certified.
Okay, same thing's going to hold true here, so we can keep that straight. Qualified versus certified. So qualified is a written testimony of qualification. A written testimony of qualification. It is paperwork that proves you have the necessary classroom and experience. We'll put classroom training and experience. Now, I want to make sure you understand this is two things. This is classroom training is one thing, experience is something different. It's not classroom experience. You follow? It is real world experience. After that, you become certified, so certification. A certifying agency has issued a certificate. ASNT words. You can be qualified but not certified.
What if you're certified? But
I am qualified but not certified.
What if you're the other way around?
Then there was
Well,
fraud.
then
Then
you-
fraud was committed. Because if you got certified without qualifications, then it's fraud. All right. So who are my certifying agencies?
EFAA?
Before I tell you, I'm going to tell you that you need to kind of get rid of your preconceived notions because this is going to be something very weird to you. Certifying agencies. The number one is most likely your employer. Employers are certifying agencies. Number two, could be, but probably not likely, could be what is known as a central certification. CEMT, central certification. Through ASNT. American Society for, oops, I forgot the society part. Society for Nondestructive Testing.
Shouldn't it be ASNT, DT?
They are good. They were talking about just being MSNT, American Society for Testing. American Society for Nondestructive Testing. All right, so it works like this. So you're thinking, all right, so if an employer could do it, well, then couldn't I go to, say, the dean of the school and say, hey, I want to create a certifying agency out of us, and therefore I want you as my supervisor to then certify me as a level something. Yes?
Does it not carry between employment?
Nope.
So what would it matter?
Then if I could get them to say I'm a level 2, then I can do all the work that a level 2 or 3 can do. So you think, ooh, loophole. It doesn't work that way. So how do you get this certifying, how does an employer become a certifying agency? Can I open up my own shop and just say, I want to do NDT, I'm an employer. Therefore, since I'm an employer and I want to hire Cooper, can I just make him a level 1 or 2?
Three.
Because, no, You chose my words carefully. So I'm the employer, so I want to certify him. Can I just do that? I'm the employer, I do whatever I want with my business. The answer is no. You have to follow ASNT's rules and guidelines as the employer and set up your entire NDT operation in accordance with ASNT. And then once you have done that and completed that, then I am eligible to say that one of you could be a level 1, 2, or 3, depending how it goes.
So you have to be like a
Actually,
certified employer to do.
Kind of have to be a certified employer.
So the
Well,
ASNT,
do they
is-
come out and say, well, we're going to inspect you? No. No, they have publications.
Just trust you.
yeah, who oversees this stuff and holds people liable?
They trust you and
It's a pretty tight organization with a lot of checks and balances in place. So, and we'll get into this, but just so you understand, part of this is you have to have a level 3 involved. Well, how do you get to become a level 3? Oh, that is really freaking difficult. Number one, you have to have at least a bachelor's in the sciences. And I could be wrong on that. I think it might be a master's.
Oh,
But it's got to be, yeah. And so you're looking at engineering, aeronautics, something that has a STEM background to it. Then you have to take the central, so I'm talking certifying agencies more as a 1 and 2 really. Then you have to, yeah, I could put that certifying agencies. That's more for like a level 1 and 2, which we'll get into that. Those are the lowest ones. So, but you need a level 3 on staff. Well, how do you become a level 3? You have to get certified as a level 3 in each one of these 10 different things that we talked about. So number 1, you have to prove your qualifications. And it's a lot. So once you can prove your qualifications, I have been doing magnetic particle for this many years, and it is very difficult to get that certification, or that proof has to be, and they just changed it a few years ago, because I was right ready to get a level 3, glad I didn't. And they changed the rules in between the time I started studying and the time I was ready, and I needed signatures from people who were now dead, and was unable to do it. So you have to go back to the level 3 who you were working under before. They have to attest, you have attestation, you have to have 2 attestations. Somebody attests that yes, you are telling the truth. So you have to trace it back to a level 3 certified through ASNT that they vouch for you and your past employer at a minimum. So,
Wow, it's like a
Yeah,
hardcore.
so in
that's
order
kinda
for your
really-
business to have a setup, you need one of these level 3s. Now the testing for level 3 will blow your freaking mind.
And your wallet.
It is expensive, but the hardest part is you have to take, geez, that was a general test that really covers all of these 10 methods to almost a level 2 method, to level 2 standard. You have to be able to almost know every one that you do. The written test is all of these 10 in great detail. That's what I was saying, just the difference between radiograph and neutron, got down to which isotopes you're using and everything, and you had to memorize all this stuff, like, whoa! Then you have to take a level 3 test in the method that you want. So you have to take the general first, just like you take a general. Then I would take like the magnetic particle, that would give me a level 3. But in order to keep the level 3, you have to get so many points for every 5 years, I think it is. And these points are how much work you've done, how much education you've done, attending meetings and all that. So I'm like, I don't have
So it sounds like the people who do this are like dedicated NDT.
Oh yeah, this is not a hobby profession.
This is like, you're doing this as a career.
Oh, when you're a level 3, yes, that
Like
is
big money though.
not something you just have in your pocket like, I used to be a level 3 and check it out. No,
You are like, you have to keep up on that. Like,
you do. They're very serious about this.
I know in, at least in the mining industry, if you are level 3 NDT, you can pretty much just say, you're paying me this much, and they'll go, yep, that's fair, and pay you what you ask.
I think that's somewhat true in our industry.
Okay.
Yes.
It's like they pretty much determine.
Oh, this is good stuff here. Yeah, you
You'll-
want a good career. I enjoy it. Okay, so I say all that to say your employer, once they're at a level where they can certify you, they're not messing around. Right? ASNT comes in and finds out they're not doing this stuff right and says, no, we don't want any part of you, and that's really bad. So, all right, so we have qualifications, certifications.
And
Is
it's,
there a way to see, what employers are NDT certified?
I think ASNT might have something like that.
Like it's just common knowledge on the
Yeah,
website?
now some of them, all right, so it's not, I can back it up just a tiny bit. So let's say I'm running an engine overhaul shop and we want to do our own NDT work. Well, that's what I used to do. We did not have a level 3 on staff. So what you do is you hire a level 3. There are companies, like I use QC NDT for all your NDT needs. Wonderful guy, and I didn't use him for my company, but I used a different company out of Lodi, called them up, hired a level 3, he came out, he checked our processes, checked what we're doing, talked to us, interviewed us. Things were a little more loose back then. Now, now what they need to do is very strict, and they have to do a test, a practical, on and on. We didn't quite do that. It was more of just an oral exam and a practical. What are you doing? How are you doing it? What do you do that for? And then he said, okay, you are a level 2. I mean, he didn't even type out a card from my wallet. He said, you're a level 2. And so he's my level 3, and he's overseeing me. If I have questions, I call him. The company didn't have the ability to issue it outside of him, so he was our issuer for that level 2. And level 1 is the lowest level. So it goes 1, then 2, then 3. And so we'll get into what each one can and can't do. But hopefully that makes a little more sense. So you wouldn't have to necessarily call the employer. If the employer is doing non-destructive testing, then that works for you. That would something you can do. Like they used to do NDT here, but I think they had a problem with their level 3 quit. But I think that might have been the same one who was doing it for Mather. Did have something. I remember at one point we had one of our industry council meetings, and Mather guys were here, and I said something about getting our NDT stuff, and he turned around and said, "Are you level 2?" I said, "Well, I was." He goes, "If you are, I'll hire you right now." I mean, right in the middle of the meeting. He stopped the meeting. "I will hire you now. I need someone who can run a Magnaflux machine today. We're having to send stuff out. We got airplanes sitting around. They can't wait." So, yeah, it's definite need. Yes.
I just looked at it, 4-year degree, so it's a bachelor's.
Okay.
For the level.
I'm sure it's in here somewhere, but it's got to be a STEM.
Yep.
Or higher.
It's minimum 4-year college or university with a degree in engineering or a physical science.
It's pretty close to what I said. So,
Theoretical degree in physics.
theoretical degree. Yes. And then the experience. All right. So we kind of clear on that?
Wait, so are level 3s just like hard to come by, or?
Yes.
Just like.
I just told you what it takes to become a level 3. Very difficult.
It's probably less than.
When I did get the attestation from 2 people to do it, and then they changed the requirements on who could attest. But even so, studying for the test was just so difficult. It is really an engineering kind of a test. I mean, it gets down all the way from the mining operation to final production, what all the different methods are for every kind of production you can get. You're talking about investment cast, sand cast, so that's casting, forging, I mean, everything from ingots on up. And then you have to know all 10 of those methods to not just a surface knowledge, a rather deep knowledge. And that's just the general. Then you get into the specific knowledge, which is, that wasn't that hard, I guess.
Is there a preference between the 10, which clearly it seems like magnetic is used the most?
I think if I had a brand new clean slate and I could only pick one thing, it would either be eddy current or ultrasound. They're cleaner, easier, and a little bit more subsurface, a lot more subsurface. Well, not eddy current, but anyway.
We used ultrasound on our blades.
Yeah.
So that's what I always saw them
Yep,
doing.
that's why I do that.
Would you find NDT more in like general or in every type of?
Across the board. Well, I never worked for the airline, so I can't speak to that, but it seems like they're doing an awful lot of it. But I know I was in general aviation and spent a lot of time doing it. But I did engines. So the rest of the airframe doesn't get a lot of it, except higher stressed parts, carry through spars, things like that. They're now getting ultrasound, eddy currents, x-rayed, so everybody's get older. What?
So yeah, every wheel we take tires off, they're getting shot.
What do they do? What method?
I don't know. I don't really ask Todd too much, but
I
he has
saw
a little
videos.
inspection. I don't know, it's almost like a bore scope, but
Little probe?
yeah.
Eddy current.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah. Okay, we good here about that? We're gonna go more into depth a little bit. Okay. So your certifying agencies. All right, there is the central certification. Now, when I'm talking about central, again, I'm talking pretty much what you would be looking for, level 1 or 2. I don't know if level 1. Level 1 is you set up equipment and you're a helper to the level 2. Level 2 is the person who's really doing the work. A level 3 clearly can do all of it and do the work, but they're the ones who write the procedures. Who will say, okay, level 2, you're going to do this at 2,000 amps wet continuous AC, or this is how you're going to set up your machine. So they have that ability to read and detect data and write procedures. You as a level 2 follow procedures and train the level 1. The level 1 holds your coffee cup and wipes the beds down of the Magnaflux machine. So, all right, but ASNT has somewhat recently come up with a central certification where instead of going to your employer to get certified, and by the way, so your employer, you say Mather Aviation sets up a program, and I'm using Mather because I've always liked Mather, and the guy Vic who owns it, I think he's a cool dude, and a great company. He decides to set up this certification, and he gives Duke level 2. Says, you're now level 2. And then some other company outside of the area, because they're the best in the area, says, you know what, we'll pay you $10 more to come over here and run our NDT program. So he leaves and goes over there, and guess what? On the way there,
He's not level 2 anymore.
he's not level 2 anymore, just lost it.
Unless
You can
they-
get to the new company, they can say, all right, let's see, what do you got here? You're level 2, because we can do that. But you lose it. Now, there's the central certification whereby I could go out and I could get this central certification, I could have a level 2 in my pocket and say, yeah, I don't even work for a company that has a ASNT program. Me personally, I am a level 2. I got it through ASNT. Now the problem is I see it, for me is, remember, we're thinking from a standpoint of aviation. Most NDT is not. Most of this has to do with mining, oil, gas and oil companies, gas and oil pipelines, welding, stuff like that. So we're thinking a little more nuanced than they are. So that test relies heavily upon methods that wouldn't apply to what I've ever done for gas lines, oil transmission lines. Certification. So who is in accordance with? So certification. Certification is in accordance. With one of the following. All right, I got 6. I don't even know all these. 1. And when you say this word at NDT school, or these initials, it's imperative that you say it so fast that nobody knows what you actually said. SNTTC 1A. And they say it just like that constantly. Like, can I get the words put on so I can see what you're saying? But it's SNT-TC-1A. At least that's when I did my notes last year. That was the, and that is by ASNT. That is the agency that puts out this publication. And this is the basis for basically all other certs, or all certs. It's kind of the kingpin, if you will. And it's not a very thick book at all. It is, with pictures and everything, and an order form in the back, 35 pages. Oh, and answers to test questions, 35 pages. Most of it is sample test questions. So, but it describes exactly the procedures, what you're responsible for level 1, level 2, level 3, how you would test them, definitions, levels of qualification, written practice, education, training, experience, requirements. So it's a very succinct document that just says, nope, that's how you do it. It's surprising how small it is. Then we get into NAS, which stands for?
National Aircraft Standards.
Yes. Is it aerospace standards?
Is it
National Aerospace. NAS 410. And that is formerly mill standard. I guess it's mill standard 410. So what do you think about that? NAS 410. Let's see. NAS 410. I have revision 4 in front of me. Sheet 1 of 26. This was an expensive publication to buy, let me tell you. That is a price. You can't get these things just online. You'd be surprised. So 26 pages. It is similar to SNTTC 1A, except it's for who? NAS.
National Aerospace.
Aircraft mechanics. So we are aircraft mechanics, therefore we need to follow NAS 410. Now, when I talk about NDT school, there's one of the biggest schools is in Anaheim on Hillier. And it's funny, so you're supposed to go every 5 years, and this is the 5th year, so I really should have gone now, but I didn't want to. They want, but I'm not certified anyway. So, but you're supposed to go for recurrent training every 5 years, and it went 5 years ago, which was memorable because that was when we had the big fires everywhere. Mm-hmm. And anyway, so when you go on their website and you sign up for your recurrent training for your level 2, I did level 2 in MT and PT, and they have right on there. It's like our I forget what it is. It's just basic training. MT training, they have the days and price, and it says, same thing, NAS 410, and they have how many days and the price. And so I call them like, well, what is the difference? Which one do I want? You know, I'm doing aerospace, this and that. Well, of course, Kevin, you want NAS 410. Okay, NAS 410. Then I asked them eventually, I asked the instructor, what do we, because we go longer for NAS 410, or hours or more than the other one. I said, what do we get more of that the other ones don't?
Hours.
Hours, but what are we doing for the hours? They talk slower.
Yeah, you just get hours.
Filibusters?
Pretty much.
At least you get time to take notes.
But whatever. Okay. So really, this is these two right here. I mean, that's key. I could just stop right there and go, those are it. That's what you need to know, because that's what applies to us. We have CP 189. That's really going to be your it's ASNT certification, ASNT for oil and gas lines. Oil and gas. Number 4, I've got ISO 9712. ISO is International Organization for Standardization. I'm sure you guys have heard of that. They have all kinds of numbering systems. Let me see. Then we have ACCP, which is our ASNT Central Cert. So you want to get certified under that, the Central Certification, then you're going to go through ACCP. So if you can kind of, I don't know, the way I would look at it is the basis for all other certs. So your SNT TC1A is like I said, that's the kingpin. That's like, this is what you need to be certified. The way I see it, NAS 410 comes behind it and says, yeah, that, but more. We're just going to copy that and then add some things to it. So they're kind of the same, but it's still the basis for that. And then after that, you can see ASNT wrote the publication for oil and gas. They wrote the publication then for central certification. And let me see, there's also AWS-NDE, which would be the American Welding Society for non-destructive examination. And you have to kind of also, again, remember that there's so much difference between these things. It just doesn't cross-relate well. So, when I was there at Hillier, I had a lot of people doing their 5-year recertification. And oh, by the way, if they failed their recertification, they were out of a job come Monday morning. They were some freaked out people, let me tell you. It was really sad. But I had a couple of people who were from the military who did NDT on weapons, barrels, different kinds of barrels. Somebody was there, they did welding stuff. I mean, it was very specialized things that I don't know if I would like NDT testing barrels off M16s for the rest of my life. I could maybe a day, then they go, okay, gotta do something different.
They're all
But yeah, so it's all very, very different, and then we would test us on plates that were welded. Well, as somebody in aviation, I don't test weldments, so it's kind of weird how it all works.
So there is no inspection for that? If you have to do something like make a engine mount or something like that, they don't?
No?
Jesus Christ.
If you hit it with a hammer and it doesn't break, it's good.
I would imagine
Or-
people have to make engine mounts all the time.
Better yet,
Not just
grinders
replace
paint,
them.
make me the welder I
They're
am.
making them.
I don't want to just throw out this no, but I think the blanket answer is no. I have to look at the.
So just
Okay, first of all, there's so much involved. You want to just go out and make a motor mount. Well, you can't.
Yeah. that's
But you can for your own plane under what's called owner-produced parts. You're allowed as an owner of an aircraft to design, manufacture, and produce any part you want to for your airplane. Their thought being, well, if it's your butt on the line. The problem is, though, then what happens when you sell it? And anyway, I don't want to get into that. That's a second-year discussion. But let's just say that I find a crack in my motor mount and I want to do a weld repair on my motor. And I've never welded before, but I've got a couple YouTube videos. So I go to 4313, AC 4313, shows in there how to do a weld repair on a motor mount. And so I do it just like that. And I weld it, it looks like the eagle has pooped all over. It looks like, we used to say that in welding, it looks like bird shit. And you're like, wow, well, I did it. Can you go for it?
Well, hold on, you're not supposed to go off 30 at 4313, you go off of the maintenance repair manual first, right?
Oh, what if it's an antique airplane? What if I just choose that?
Fair enough.
So I don't believe there's anything in there that says, oh yeah, you must do non-destructive testing and stuff like that. So, but if you send out your motor mount for a weld repair, there's a guy up in the hills, Tim Laurie, I believe is Laurie is definitely his last name, who is a certified repair station welding guy. Is excellent. Yeah, he's probably testing his stuff, or if he's not, he doesn't need to because he's a great welder. I don't know. Be surprised what you can get away with.
Yeah, it just sort of freaks me out.
All right, so aviation typically follows. Which one?
NAS 410.
NAS 410. Okay. Levels. We have our different levels. The lowest one is a level 1. Level 1. And I'll read it, it's long, but I wanted to get exactly what ASNT wanted in here. Individuals should be qualified to properly perform specific calibrations. Oh, I have a keyword. Calibrations, specific NDT, and specific evaluations for acceptance or rejection determinations. So we do have some specific NDT evaluations.
This is what level 1's
Yep.
allowed to do?
Yep. According to evaluations for acceptance or rejection. For rejection, according to written instructions.
So they do like the acceptance NDT basically?
Yeah. Let's see, record results. The NDT level 1 should receive the necessary instruction and supervision from a certified NDT level 2 or 3 individual. So we can put that, must work under level 2 or 3. All right, then we have the level 2. Level 2 sounds a lot like what we just had. Individuals should be qualified to set up and calibrate equipment and to interpret and evaluate results with respect to, so far the same thing? I should have it written out somewhere. So level 1, individuals should be qualified to properly perform specific calibrations. Level 2, individuals should be qualified to set up and calibrate equipment to interpret and evaluate results with respect to applicable codes, standards, and specifications. Now we see a little bit different, don't we? So instead of just written instructions, this one is doing it too. Level 2 is
Calibrate and interpret.
Yep, to results. Interpret and evaluate. We did not have interpret and evaluate for level 1. We had evaluate for acceptance or reject, but now we have interpret and evaluate. Which is a deeper level, with respect to applicable codes. So now you have to know the codes that you're working with, standards, and specifications. The difference being, if you're level 1 and I say I want you to go inspect this using the machine, these machine settings, and you're looking for this, then you would go do that. As we're level 2 is going to read something and say this should be inspected in accordance with ASTM E144 Echo, which is an ASTM publication on how to perform magnetic particle inspections. So I have to read that publication and then make that applicable to what I'm doing. See, it doesn't tell you exactly. There's nothing in an ASTM publication that will say, oh, you're doing a Continental O200 crankshaft. Well, then you want to do exactly this. As a level 2, you don't get that. As a level 1, you do. It's like, you do it exactly this way. I have to interpret. Let me see. Level 2 should be thoroughly familiar with the scope and limitations of the methods for which he or she is qualified, should exercise assigned responsibility for on-the-job training and guidance for trainees and NDT level 1 personnel. Level 2 should be able to organize and report the results of NDT tests. That's not direct.
Yeah.
All right. One more thing, then we'll go on break. What's next?
3.
Level 3. Level 3 took the whole page up, half a page. Individuals should be capable of developing, qualifying, and approving procedures. So you make the rules. Establishing and approving techniques, interpreting codes, standards, specifications, and procedures, as well as designating the particular NDT methods, techniques, and procedures to be used. Level 3 should be responsible for the NDT operations for which it's qualified, assigned, and should be capable of interpreting, evaluating results in terms of existing codes, standards, specifications. That was the level 2. Should have sufficient practical background in applicable materials, fabrication, and product technology to establish the techniques. In other words, you know how the part was made, how it's used, where it's going to fail, and what you're looking for, based on an engineering kind of background. Assist in establishing criteria when none of them are available. Level 3 should have general familiarity with other NDT methods as demonstrated by the ASNT Level 3 basic exam, which I told you about, or other means. Level 3 should be capable of training and examining the level 1 and 2 personnel for certification. So you also, as a level 3, responsible for training and evaluating and testing and issuing the certification. All right, break time.